All right, these are the last two questions on the chapter review quiz. So make sure you guys are following along. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Question number 10 says the dance committee has 1,120 flowers. They want to divide the flowers evenly among 32 centerpieces. How many flowers will be in each centerpiece? Well, the numbers we have are 1120, so I'm going to write that down. 1,120 and 32, right? And what are we going to do? Well, it gave us a giant clue because it said we want to divide the flowers evenly, right? Put that in red. Divide the flowers evenly among 32 centerpieces. In case you didn't know what a centerpiece was, it's just that little arrangement here, so there's a bunch of flowers in here. So that's what a centerpiece is. So how many flowers will be in each centerpiece is what they're trying to figure out. Don't count these because that's not the actual centerpiece from the question. All right, so we're just dividing, and the dance committee wants to do that, so we're going to put this big number, let me make that black, divided by 32, right? Because we're dividing it by 32 flowers evenly. They're going to make 32 centerpieces in total. So what we're going to do is some long division here. Everybody's favorite, right? So the first question is, can 32 go into 1? Well, no. So you can put a 0 here, or you can leave it blank. I'll put a 0 just so we can know where we're at. Can 32 go into 11? No, still too small, right? I'm going to put that here again. Can 32 go into 112? Well, now we're talking, because it definitely can, right? Because 32 is a smaller number than 112. So we have to figure out how many times can 32 go into 112? Well, I don't know how to do that off the top of my head. I don't know my math facts up to 32. So I'm just going to estimate and bring 32 down to 30, because that's easier for me to deal with, right? So 30 times, let's say 30 times 3. And what is that? That's going to be, let's see here, 3 times 0, which is 0. 3 times 3 is 9, so that gives me 90, right? Still too small. Or is it? We'll see. What's 30 times 4? Let's try it out. Times 4. Oops. Enter here. There we go. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 3 is 12, right? And that's getting us over 112, which we're trying to get into. So we're probably going to have to do times 3. So let's do 33 times 3, because it's going to be close to the number we're talking about. And the reason I switched to 30, again, is just because it's easier math. It's easier for me to try to figure out. All right, so now that I know it's going to be something close to 3, I have to figure out what 32 times 3 is. So let's figure that out real quick. 32. Oh, let me erase that. I'm getting ahead of myself over here. All right, so 32 times 3. Now let's see what that equals. Hopefully you guys can follow along with this. 3 times 2 is 6, right? And then 3 times 3 is 9. So we have 96. So I'm going to put this 96 under the 112. And then just subtract, right? That's how long division works. Alright, so 2 minus 6 doesn't really work for me. So I'm going to have to borrow from this guy. This becomes 0. And this becomes 12, right? So 12 minus 6 equals 6. Okay, so 0 minus 9, well, we can't do that, so I'm going to have to borrow again. This becomes, oh man, I'm going to have some trouble seeing it. So that becomes 0. Let me space this out a little better. And my 0 becomes 10, right? Sorry, I'm getting a little messy here, guys. But, so 10 minus 9 equals 1. So I'm left with 16. And that's another way to check if I multiply by the right number, because 16, 32 is a bigger number than 16. So yes, I did do my multiplication right. All right, so now the next step is to bring down my 0. So this becomes 160, right? And then we have to figure out how many times can 32 go into 160. I'm going to do the same idea that I did before. Let's see, how many times can 30 go into 160? Let's see if we can figure that out. So 30 going into 160. Actually, here's another little cheat for you guys. Since I'm working with whole numbers of zeros, I can just cross my zeros off. So how many times can 3 go into 16? That's way easier, right? Because we know that 3 times 5 is 15. So let's see if 32 times 5 would work. 32 times 5. 5 times 2 equals 10. 5 times 3 equals 15, plus 1 is 160. Oh. So we have 160 total. So hey, looks like we found our answer. It is going to be 5. So again, that's going to equal 160. We subtract. 60 minus 160 equals 0. And we are left with 35, right? 35, what? 35, what's the question asking? 35 flowers in each centerpiece. Or you can just put 35 flowers. It's asking how many flowers would be in each centerpiece. All right. I know, these are getting a little tough, but if you guys persevere. All right, so this last question is, the student council sold 286 rolls of wrapping paper for a fundraiser. If they raised 3,146, what was the cost of one roll of wrapping paper? So over here I have my little comic strip of wrapping paper. It says, we need to be dressed up for Christmas morning. Can you help? I've got you covered. Now look at, he's dressed up as a Christmas present. Funny, right? All right, so the student council sold 286 rolls of wrapping paper for a fundraiser. If they raised 3,146, what was the cost of one roll of wrapping paper? We know they sold 286. So I'm going to write that out. 286. And they raised 3,146, right? Well, guess what? This is a simple division question. We're just going to divide this number by this number to figure out how much each roll cost. All right. I said simple, but it's not that simple. Well, we'll see. All right, so our first number, our divisor, is 286, right? I'm sure nobody knows their math facts for 286. I mean, maybe someone out there does. I don't. So, yeah. 286 can it go into 3? No, right? So I'm just going to put a 0 here. Can it go into 1? No. I'm going to put another 0 here. Can it go into 3? I'm sorry, can it go into 31? No. Can it go into 314? Sure. Definitely can. Now, how many times can this go in there? If I were to double 286, we know it's going to be over 400, right? Because 200 times 2 is 400. So we know that's already, you can't be times 2. So it's just going to go in there one time. 286 is what we're left with. So 286 times 1 equals 286. So I'm just going to do subtraction now. It's going to get messy. Let me see if I can zoom into this thing. Change my font to a smaller font. 1 second. Alright, so 4 minus 6 doesn't work, right? Because 4 is too small, so I'm going to have to borrow from this guy, turn him into a 0, and this becomes 14. So 14 minus 6 equals 8, right? Alright. This was a 0, so now I need to borrow because 0 minus 8 doesn't work, so I have to borrow from my next number. Over here, he becomes a 2, and this becomes 10, right? 10 minus 8 equals 2. And now we have 2 minus 2, which equals 0, right? So we're left with 28. But are we done? No. Because we need to bring down our 6, right? This number wasn't involved, so we're bringing him down. So I'm going to bring him down. This becomes 6. So now we got to figure out how many times can 286 go into 286. Well, that's easy. It's just one time. Let me change this to back to 22. So 286 times 1 equals 286. Going off my page here. Let me fix that for you guys. 286 minus 286 equals 0. So that, my friends, is the end of our answer. So it's going to be 11. So what was the cost of one roll of wrapping paper? It's not just 11. It's $11, right? That is the end of our quiz review. Hopefully this makes sense. Slow it down. If it doesn't, go back and see what I did. Hopefully that helps you guys out. Any questions, please comment, and I'll try to get back to you ASAP. Thanks.